you know who's cool? Freaking War Machine, man. He is rad. And throughout the years, he has gotten 4 different Marvel Legends style figures based on his appearances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And today I want to talk about all 4 of those figures, kind of talk about which one's my favorite, which ones I like, which ones I dislike. Spoiler alert, I really don't dislike any of them. And we will go about just comparing all of them because they're all really, really great figures, and I recommend them all. So first off, I want to talk about the very first one, released in the Iron Man 2 movie line that was a Walmart exclusive. It's a 6-inch figure. It's kind of short, but it's still really, really good, and that is the War Machine Mark 1. Now, I almost want to just go ahead and say that this is my favorite, because it kind of is my favorite. It's just such a good figure that has a lot of features to it. It has so many accessories, so many cool things going on, a lot of paint, and the articulation engineering is just really, really clever and nice. So first off, I want to go over the accessories, and what he includes is a working shoulder-mounted gun with articulation, including the little ammo belt that can be removed, and you can even slide the gun to the other shoulder, which he did actually do in the movie. So that's really, really cool, and automatically beats pretty much every other shoulder gun on War Machine figures. He also includes a little removable plate here that once removed you can put in its place this really, really cool little missile pod thing that just is absolutely amazing. And I kind of wish he had something similar to it on the other shoulder, however I see why they did not do that. He also includes quite a few interchangeable hands, including fists, gripping hands, which can hold onto various accessories such as lightsabers and guns, if you really, really want to, and repulsor hands, because after all, War Machine doesn't have enough guns already, he needs lasers coming out of his hands. So for a figure that was sold at $15 at the time, it comes with a lot of accessories. It also has a lot of articulation, which really, really impresses me. So his head can move up quite a bit, given the design. It can move down a lot, which is really, really nice. It can move side to side at a fair range, however it does eventually get blocked by the shoulder things, depending on if you have them in or not. I really, really love his shoulder pads, because they move up all of the way. Of course, if you swivel this over, it can move up even more. His shoulders have a full range of motion, and the shoulder pads look pretty nice even when it's kind of forward. Bicep swivel, of course. Very, very nice double-jointed elbows. I think that's very, very successful. He has a little hinge right at this hand guard right here that can actually facilitate moving the hand upward for a pretty good repulsor pose. And I really enjoy the fact that they actually made that workable. More than I can say for a couple other War Machine figures. His waist articulation, it's pretty much just this single joint. It moves very, very good. His hips, they can move forward about that much. They can move out to the side quite a bit. They're those irritating joints that I really don't like that much because they're kind of, what are they called, Y joints? Yeah, I really don't like them that much. Double jointed knees, which are very, very successful. And he has, I believe, ball joints at the feet. I'm not really sure. But he can't really get any pivot out of the feet. However, he does have pretty big platforms. So you really don't need that much pivot. You just kind of need him to be at a pretty solid standing pose, and I feel like that is very, very easily achievable. The paint is also fantastic. I love the little decals and symbols all along the armor. They're just so fantastic, and the silver paint is pretty crisp all around. It has some kind of sloppy areas. That's what you'll expect from very silver-heavy areas of paint, you know, after a while it just kind of gloops up because you kind of have to repaint it if it's not good. And I feel like it's pretty solid all around, even silver paint on the knees. So the paint's really nice. All the hands also have paint as well, including the fisted hands, which I was very, very surprised by. So factoring in that this War Machine is probably one of the best, also fits in with comic figures because the design is very, very comic faithful. It is a Walmart exclusive, or was a Walmart exclusive, and was released 6 years ago. You can imagine that his price is pretty high, and unfortunately the price is pretty high. It's at about $60, $50 or so, and I managed to find mine for about $35, which I feel like that is the golden price for this thing. I feel like it's worth $35, it has all the accessories, it's a pretty premium figure. I feel like it's better than a lot of Marvel Legends nowadays, and I really, really do recommend this thing, especially if you're going after all of the MCU Iron Man type armors like I am. I'm cheating here, the next one isn't even War Machine, but it is kind of War Machine. It is the Iron Man 3 Iron Patriot, released in the Marvel Legends line, not just the Iron Man 3 line. So yeah, this figure is very, very good. It does a lot of things right, and it does a couple things wrong. One of the things I think it does really, really right is the paint. The paint all over this thing is absolutely glorious. You can see little decals like Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes there. You can see tons and tons of little paint. I love the metallic blue they used all along the armor. It makes it look really, really metally. And it's just so fantastic. They really didn't skip out anywhere. And the paint quality all around was pretty nice on these figures. However, for the initial releases of this guy, most of them did have facial paint issues, and this one has a little black scuff there, but that's nothing compared to my first copy of this figure that was absolutely horrendous with the face. I kind of wish I would have gotten it down to show you, however, I forgot. Another complaint is that the shoulder gun, the joints are a little loose, but that's not really the problem. The problem is that it's supposed to primarily be on the right shoulder, but if you want it on the right shoulder, you have to kind of, well, needless to say, it doesn't really go on the right shoulder right. It can go on the left shoulder really nice. I mean, it has a good stick out point. It's just overall fairly nice looking. I think that's pretty impressive. However, you can even move this over to the other one. It does not slide. And you can have it closer to the left shoulder, which it's kind of meh. I mean, it's pretty much bonking into his head at that point. However, just like on the right shoulder where it should be, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's always off to the side. It's kind of weird and meh. So yeah, that's kind of an issue. However, it's not really that big of an issue. Articulation on this guy is pretty solid as well. He utilizes the same kind of awesome shoulder joints that the Mark I used. His elbows are even better. However, his wrists, I feel like they could have moved up. These don't move up at all, so his repulsors, which also are not painted, by the way, and he only has one. No interchangeable hands on this guy. Yeah, could have been a little better there. Waist is pretty much the same as the War Machine Mark I, except not as good. Hips are pretty nice. They're a lot easier to work with, however, they don't move as forward. Thigh swivel, dual jointed knees, which are pretty solid and pretty tight. And once again, he's pretty much got like no foot articulation, maybe a little bit of swivel. So yeah, overall his articulation could be better, however, I feel like he is a pretty solid figure all around. And yes, his head does move, I forgot about it. It's just very, very tight and very, very worrisome because it is that tight. But yeah, I recommend this guy. I feel like for an Iron Patriot MCU figure, this does a really, really good job. I am pretty impressed with it. Has a couple issues, not perfect by any means, but I am a fan. Of course, because Iron Man, they had to repaint it into War Machine Mark II. And this guy, paint-wise, that's pretty much the only difference. He also has two fisted hands, so he doesn't have any form of repulsor on this figure. However, he does have a lot of nice deco. You can see Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes again on there, just FF and all that. I don't think it has like a 02 on it anywhere. The face paint on this guy is a lot better. I'm a lot bigger of a fan of that face paint, and I really, really like the colors on this guy. Once again, same issue with the shoulder cannon, as well as the exact same articulation. But yeah, this guy is actually very, very cheap and obtainable to get. It is about a, maybe like a $10 figure if you look in the right places, because that Hulkbuster wave they released was actually very, very unpopular. This figure being one of the unpopular ones. I don't know why, because it's actually a really, really good figure. He also came with this really cool accessory, that being a Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes head, which does swap out, and if you're wondering if it fits on any of the other War Machines in this video, it probably fits on Patriot, but why would you put this on Patriot? Unless you want to buy this and like repaint that into a Patriot helmet, go ahead. It probably would look really cool, but yeah, that's actually a really nice look for this figure. I've displayed him like this at times. However, how my displays kind of work, I just kind of have them all lined up like they're the, empty armors. So yeah, I like this figure a lot. It's pretty cheap and obtainable. If you only want one War Machine and you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, I would probably recommend this one because it's a really, really solid figure and actually one of my favorite designs for War Machine. However, War Machine Mark I will always be my favorite. Someone at Hasbro must have said, hey, remember that Mark I War Machine that was really, really cool 6 years ago? Let's try to do that again with Civil War, and they did. With the Mark III War Machine. This figure it's kind of problematic. I did do a review of it, and I do think it's pretty nice, however, it does have some issues. To kind of go over it again, It's kind of oddly proportioned. I feel like the arms are a little too long and skinny, and the chest is way too bulky. I feel like he has way too much of a thigh gap for being a person in armor. I mean, how wide are his hips for real? Uh, it's just kind of oddly proportioned. However, it does kind of go away when you pose him around. I do like this figure. I like the head sculpt and I like the articulation. Very, very similar to the others, except the shoulders. I think they're just kind of on rubbery pieces. No, they're actually on a little hinge. It doesn't go up as much, but it really doesn't need to. And I think these shoulders probably blend the best when you move them forward. Overall, pretty much the same kind of articulation. However, he comes with a lot more accessories, including this piece, which is removable and can be replaced in his hand by his baton, which you can put in his hand if you actually swap them out for the hands that are meant to hold things. So yeah, he also does come with alternate hands that can hold things. However, none of his hands do have a repulsor painted on them, so it's a little bit of a boo-hoo. He also does have this, which can be popped out and replaced with an actual cannon up there, which I think this is probably a better cannon than the Mark II and Iron Patriot. However, it doesn't like staying in, and it was actually a very, very loose joint when I first got it. I had to tighten this up with glue so it can actually move properly. But yeah, that's a pretty cool accessory in my book. He also comes with these things on his hips, which you can remove, plug onto his arms, and you kind of fold out the little clip or magazine or whatever. And yeah, it's a little gun on his arm. I think that's pretty cool. I don't remember that in the movie, but I think it's a pretty cool addition. So yeah, that's pretty much the War Machine Mark III in a nutshell. If you want more details on this guy, like articulation and all that, check out my individual review of the 2-pack. Link will be in the description below, as well as the end of the video. You will have a link to that review. So overall, I would say the MCU War Machine collection from the 6-inch Marvel Legends line is really, really solid. I don't feel like there's a single bad figure in any of these four. Now, which ones do I recommend? Well, in order, I would probably say I recommend the Mark I, then Iron Patriot, then that, and then that. Iron Patriot being above the Mark III because Iron Patriot's paint is just so, so cool. Try to get one with a good face paint, though, because initially they were very, very bad, and that figure was harder to get when it first came out, so when I got mine, I had to be very, very picky with my paint, or actually I couldn't have been picky. It was pretty much beggars can't be choosers, so mine wasn't really that good. So yeah, guys, that has been the War Machine collection from the MCU Marvel Legends. I really, really hope you enjoyed taking a look at these figures as much as I do. I absolutely love Marvel Legends Iron Man figures, and I do plan on doing an MCU Armors for Iron Man video. That's going to take a while, so I may kind of split that up into like 2 parts, maybe Iron Man 1 and 2, then Iron Man 3 and the Avengers movies. Well, anyways, guys, that is pretty much it. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check out my Facebook page if you have a chance. Have a good day, guys, and as always, may the Force be with you. Bye.